Good night, good night, good night. I was following with much interest, and in the absence of understanding what is happening around us, and when governments are being as shady as they are internationally, we see their plans and projections for a particular time. We see plans being outlined a couple of years ago for certain parts of the world, and the easiest thing to build something is to either burn it down or completely have it destroyed, so that when you rebuild, you're not rebuilding those houses or other infrastructures that were there in this first place. You have no free reign to develop under the guise of developing what you want your plans. And sometimes when certain things are look fishy, we have a right to ask questions as human beings. That's how we are. That's how we learn. And if you don't ask questions, if you don't query things that are before us, then we are people most ignorant. So we have a right to ask questions. And when you ask questions and certain probing questions to those persons who are in leadership positions, they try to spin the narrative that we are being conspiracists because they don't want their business or what they're involved in being questioned by the locals.
A weapon before,
Right.
one has to ask the question, can it be used again?
Yes.
That's all.
Or is it being used in other circumstances? Where you hear of cloud seeding and being able to produce rain in places that were drought, desert areas, what type of science have these people with loads of money with nothing to do with it other than to try to manipulate? There was a time when persons would not believe that we could go to the moon. They landed there. All right. So that is things that if your mind can conceive it, and we don't use how much of our brain do we use? Very small amount.
Yes, I think this is it 10%? They said
That's
that.
something so. So I'm saying that that these things, once you're seeing them happening, we know that they're experimenting with different strains of diseases that will lead to further pandemic if they get, and then sometimes they get out of control. Huh?
If somebody would have told us that we would have gone through COVID,
In our lifetime, I cannot believe that, and nobody was tried for crimes against humanity. But the persons who spoke out about it are conspiracy theorists. But the real conspirators made billions of dollars.
exactly. And
Right.
we're at all everything that was being said in not everything. We can't say everything. Some of this stuff was just out there,
Yeah.
but there's some of it that is actually, they now are saying that it is fact.
Yes.
So we don't. Yeah, but we can move on from that.
Of
We can.
course.
We
That's
can
just
agree
things that we keep in the back of our minds so that we
Yes.
are not surprised, totally surprised when they do occur.
Somebody said they don't ever believe what the governor says publicly. There are lots of people who believe
But
that he
but
is.
Marcia, yeah, you go ahead. You finish what you're saying.
Oh, I'm finished. I'm finished.
Oh, because when we speak about the unemployment situation and we look at the what Mr. Anthony Wood is saying, a renowned economist, um, we have to juxtapose what he is saying next to what Mr. Abed was saying about what he is witnessing in terms
Mhm.
of. So we have to look at, because if there is real em, if the employment figures, if people are employed at a certain level, then they must be able to afford basic needs, sending their school children to school, coping with the cost of living. So when you ask the question, what is really employment or unemployment, then we have to look and see this of what is currently happening in Barbados. Are our people fully employed, underemployed?
Mhm.
That is what we have to look at tonight, so that the layman person, when given the facts, the presentation from the central bank governor, they are able to look at their individual lives and look around and see what is happening that they can see and decide whether those figures are correct or not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're correct. And let me just see if anybody else has anything to add. Yeah, yeah, we are using we are actually going through Anthony Woods. He's the economist. I'm not an economist, and Dr. and Mr. Babb, we're not economists, and everybody
Yes,
knows that.
yes. We just
We
want to
are
get the
using,
facts. Yes,
yeah, you have
yes.
those for whatever reason, right? They may feel that the job that is available
Because
might not fit their
yes,
skills.
because if they spend so much money on qualification, why should I subject myself to doing those type of jobs? And they're
Hmm.
more or less home waiting until the right job comes along. But then there's the other group who is saying, let me go here and work until I get the job that suits my qualification. Is that in the minority or in the majority? That's a question that has to be answered. Are those persons who are what we call voluntary idle
Hmm.
captured in the data? That
And
is
that's
what the question that he's
and that's
asking. Only include Barbadians, or does these figures include the the increase in foreign labor that we are seeing? Is it only Barbadians, or are these employment figures included, including the foreign labor that we are seeing as people working?
there you go. And you mentioned about underemployment. Okay, so you
Yeah.
have the underemployment and issue, right?
Yes.
Just because someone has a job doesn't mean they're employed well.
Because if we only working week on or week off, or 3 days a week, that is underemployment.
I mean, it's like many university graduates complain, I studied hard, as you were saying earlier, but I'm stuck doing low skill work that doesn't match their training, right? The
That's it.
governor
Yes.
the governor credits construction, talks about construction, tourism, and service for creating jobs. But
Mhm.
what about quality?
Yes, because we noticed that there's a boom, a building boom along the coast for hotels. Are university graduates going to be employed in areas of management, or
Mhm.
are we going to be subjected them to the jobs like restaurant workers? That is nothing wrong with that, but as long as you study and particular do you go into management areas, or are those positions no um, only positions only belong to those persons who they bring from outside? Because we have seen a lot of ads in the paper, we have not found anybody suitable for this
Mhm.
position, and they
Mhm.
bring them in. So we have to wonder what this government is doing and what they're saying to our university graduates. Not only not providing the environment where they can work according to their qualifications, but you're
Mhm.
also saying to them, if you don't find it here, go somewhere else. Why should that be the first option? And then we complain about brain drain because they're on contract work as well. And contract work is underemployment because a fully employed person can take that knowledge, that information of fully employment, and take it to the banks or the lending agencies and get loans. A contract worker will find difficulty or is finding difficulty in doing that. That is underemployment. And if the government is um, giving school needs workers, the ancillary staff in schools, teachers are still part time. After 5 or 6 years, they're not appointed to the service. That's underemployment
Mhm.
because you're signing instead of having like the previous administration would have given the school year, but now you're having persons coming into the school system, even working not coming in, but are being about given contracts every term
Mhm.
for 3 months or 4 months, which the term is up. So that is not fully employment. You should not be counting them, and you should be dealing with full employment and not underemployment.
Exactly. And this is why we're doing this tonight, because some people, trust me, when election time comes about, They are going to bandy this figure. That's why they're putting this thing out now, because they are going to talk about this low, record low unemployment rate. But if you don't understand it, and it's not done where the layman can understand it, then people are going to think that this government is doing so great.
Yes,
And
and I see Adrian making a good point, asking the question if the term labor force participation rate was mentioned.
correct. Yeah, and that's what that's it. That was the third thing, Adrian, that Mr. Anthony Wood, he spoke about, right? The labor force participation and the gender divide, right? So what the labor force participation rate? That's a percentage of eligible people who are working or actively looking,
Right.
right?
Okay.
According to recent analysis, this rate in Barbados is below 70%.
Mm-hmm.
Many eligible people sit out for many reasons, for schooling, discouragement,
Right.
or they're taking care of the elderly, caring
Mm-hmm.
responsibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also disaggregated by gender. Women typically participate at a lower rate than men,
Agree. Yeah.
meaning if unemployment is low for those looking, many women never enter the labor force or may drop out early. So we're looking at the labor force participation and the gender divide.
Mm-hmm.
The governor's statement on 6.1% didn't highlight these gender splits. That simplifies the story. And there's a reason that the story is being simplified, because the election is coming.
Yes.
You see?
And nice sounding figures, um, and the lie of success must be carried. Remember their slogan has to be carried. What
Mhm.
we have to do as an electorate is to listen carefully, because they will come and they go. I made a comment that know their land with charts. They come and put up bar graphs and charts, and you get carried away with the presentation, but not the substance and the underlying truth that is there they're hiding from you. So as the electorate, we have to be mindful and not be carried away. Look, ask pertinent questions. If it is not if it doesn't feel right, if you're not seeing it as an everyday person or feeling it, like they're still saying to us that everything is so well, but when you go to the supermarket, that's not the case.
Correct. You know, and this is why we must demand full breakdown: male versus female labor force participation, age groups, immigration effect, as you were speaking of,
Yeah.
Mr. Babb, right? Because as pleased as we may be with the 6.1%, we might be leaving large groups out of the picture. That's what Mr. Anthony Wood is saying.
Uh,
And as I keep saying, Mr. Bob, we want to make this a point of discussion and breaking it down on the show, so
yeah.
that the average Barbadian understands when they begin they're gonna put this up. Because
Like the statistics.
yeah, the statistics, they're going to put it up. And
Yeah.
so we need to be able to understand what is happening. Well, I
Why
see. Go ahead.
why would they give us in that breakdown the actual unemployment figures of our youth, school leavers, university graduates? Why wouldn't they give us that as a separate breakdown, so that we can say to those persons know that they're talking about moving the retirement age? What are you saying to the young people? Let us see in Barbados how many of our youth are actually unemployed. Tell us that figure.
Don't have that measure of balance in the island right now.
Yeah.
Agree. And
And
another figure, and
go ahead.
another,
Go ahead, Mr. Bob.
and another time we want to look at this. The agricultural ministry keeps putting out some figures as it relates to food production. But if there is a significant increase in food production, would we not see the results in the falling prices of vegetables, etc.?
Right.
So they are playing around with numbers to to
Correct.
mistake us on suspecting public, and we have to put this what Kevin, the Grenadian, Mr. the central bank governor, said up against the fact that we're not even so sure how many people we're not sure. We're just as unsure of what he is saying as we are unsure of how many people can vote.
Okay. Get our projects done. We can't trust Barbadians to do the project.
I would love
Okay.
to. I would love to find out, have a survey which shows us how many in the construction boom that we're having, how many Barbadians as opposed to foreign laborers being currently employed,
Good
and
question.
also I would like to know when you come to Barbados, do you have to get to work? You have to get a work permit. I would assume that those firms who are and businesses are organizing the employment, they are petitioning government for these work permits for these foreign
Exactly. Well,
numbers. So we would like to
Yeah,
know how many are. Yes,
yeah.
because they're
well,
not going to the office themselves. Certainly,
exactly.
what
Priority.
what what he is saying does not meet our reality. So what would influence him to put out those type of figures? What would influence the central bank government to paint a rosier picture than we are actually experiencing in Barbados? And those are the questions that we have to ask. And if his boss, that the elections around, and you're asking for figures, and you're taking into consideration all of those persons who are employed, whether they're foreign labor or wherever they come from, as part of your statistics, then um, then he's not painting a true picture of what is happening in terms of our own Barbadian worker who is finding it difficult to find a job. So I am asking another question: Why? What has led us to seek foreign labor as the first choice? Because none, you have so many, it has to be the first choice. What has led those projects to seek foreign labor as their first choice and not the Barbadian? Because they have not said anything.
Yeah.
They have not
Mr.
Good
said
Brown,
question.
anything that
wait,
they're having difficulty finding the numbers of persons in Barbados to fill those jobs on the construction site. But
yes,
tell us what has led you to use foreign labor as the first choice.
yes. All right.
Listen, Marcia, in a sarcastic way, he made a very serious point.
Yes,
We're
yes.
getting this government telling us, and this is how it appears to the ordinary man like myself and Commissioner. You're telling us that this economy is doing so well. Um, that is why you can come to the conclusion that the country stink of money
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
economics means financial ability. So they are telling the people of Barbados that we're doing so well economically, but in truth and in fact, we're not seeing that in an everyday basis. We're not seeing it when we go
Okay.
to the supermarket. We are not seeing it because another thing that we have to ask as well is what is happening to our taxes that is being collected from the sewage tax and the fuel tax. Where is it going? And we are not, and we're trying to find out where. And I want the economists to tell us at some night where taxes should be lodged in Barbados.